You are listening to Single Smart Female, Romantic Fairy Godmama Edition.
This episode was brought to you by the Secret Society of Adored Women.
Have you been tirelessly going on crap-tastic dates, having crap-tastic results with men, even spending a crap-tastic amount of time weeding through meh guys and fretting over the one who won't call you back or commit?
Join us for our Hush Hush group of like-minded, successful, badass single women from around the world, turning the dating scene on its head and creating scandalously magical romantic experiences that you will cherish forevermore.
But beware, your love life and life will never be the same again.
Meet us over at thesecretsocietyofAdoredWomen.com. Hello, single smart female. It is Jen, your romantic fairy godmama, coming to you today with a romantic fairy godmama hot topic. Now, what's the topic? The topic is, are you an asshole? And I have to tell you, I didn't know what I love the word asshole, by the way. It's one of my favorite words, along with the word asshat. Anything with ass, I'm pretty much drawn to. But the word askhole, A-S-K-H-O-L-E, was actually relatively new to me. And you're probably thinking, how is that even possible? Well, frankly, I don't spend a ton of time on social media, so I had not seen the meme going around for some time. So sometimes I miss things when it comes to social media stuff. And also, if you're wondering what is an asshole, because you're even later than I am to this beautiful, wonderful word, the definition is someone who continually asks for advice but never follows it. So, why do I love this word? Well, it is a beautiful word. It defines a lot of women that come to me and ask me things that they'll never, ever, ever follow through with. And that is perfectly fine. But if you've been hanging around me for a while, which I hope you have, and if you haven't, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. But I teach something called mantourage dating, which is dating more than one man at a time until you find your forever man, or indefinitely if you so choose. But my favorite asshole that I get is women coming to me wanting me to fix a relationship that's not happening, meaning they're dating somebody who all of a sudden has gone MIA on them or something else like that, or doesn't want to get in a relationship with them, but they're not willing to mantourage date. But they really want me to fix that for them. And it's a very asshole move. And then they try very fervently to tell me that they're not hyper-focused or obsessed or something like that, which is something I'm very, very versed in and have experienced a lot in my life. And it's really hard to explain that, hey, you're kind of caught in the throes of this hyper-focus and it's really going to screw up any potential you have with him. And if you want help from me, the requirement is you have to be willing to mantourage date. That's my bottom line. There's no getting around that with me. That is what I know works, what I know is going to give you the most incredible results, and what I also know is going to break your hyperfocus permanently. Why? Because hyperfocus is the death of a relationship before it starts. Now, let's talk about some other asshole moves. Not just in my realm of dating, but just some asshole moves in general that women do. One of those things is they sign up, and this isn't just with me. This happens across lots of industries and stuff, but they sign up for things like as they schedule consults and stuff and just don't show up. Or they cancel appointments because they have a quote unquote emergency, and the emergency, and I'm talking about not a legit emergency. They just give the emergency excuse. They decide that they get uncomfortable with something, they get nervous about something, and then they just break their commitment. Now, we're always pissed as women. We're pissed that men do this with us in dating, but the truth is a lot of women do this outside of dating with other women. So a lot of women do this with their friends. So they'll even, especially if it's for a guy that they really like, they'll break their plans with their friends. And because the guy that they like asks them, and they'll cancel on them, and they'll do all kinds of kind of just underhanded stuff just to get out of it, instead of saying, hey, something came up, this guy asked me out, I really would like to go see him, would you be cool if I rescheduled with you? Or doing what I think that all adored women should do, is honor the commitment that you make. If you make a commitment, yes, of course there are going to be exceptions at times, but if you make a commitment, whether it be a guy who's maybe not the highest in your pecking order right now, or whether it be with your friend, honor what you say you're going to do and go have an amazing time doing it, and quit fucking worrying that you're missing out on something else or something better. Because adored women don't miss out on anything, because we're going to have an amazing time wherever we go. So always think about, when you do decide to cancel on something, are you being out of integrity with yourself before you do? And don't be flaky. Don't be the woman who schedules stuff and cancels all the time. Be considerate in your scheduling. And if you need to schedule yourself for a night off, schedule yourself for a night off. You don't have to say yes to everything just so that you end up having to cancel everything because you've overwhelmed yourself. Now, let's go back to my lovely Askhole, who comes to me usually, and she wants a piece of advice on social media. So one of the reasons, I think years ago, I tried to do a little advice here and there on social media, because, when you're doing all the social media classes, and yes, I've taken those things before and all that, they tell you, how engagement is the best. Well, here's the problem on my end. I don't teach dating transactionally, meaning you do this, this is what happens. You do this, you do that. And there's no across the board anything. And when I work with a woman, or when I give advice, I take in consideration everything that's going on in her life, not just what this guy is doing, because there's no set piece of advice, an absolute all the time across the board when it comes to how to react to a man. Okay? There's lots of pieces of consideration that involve you. So on social media, you're not going to catch me giving little one-liners here and there. Yes, you need to do this and you need to do that. Because again, there's not one piece of advice that always works 100% of the time. And you always have to consider not just what's going on with the man, but you have to always take in who the woman is, where she's at, how she's feeling, how she perceives the world. Historically, who has she been romantically? And that transactional piece, the one for one, it doesn't work in what I'm doing. I teach dating. Everything I teach, and if I tell you I want you to say this to him, it's because it's going to build on something else. Something else comes after that brings you closer and closer to everything you want. You cannot transactionally date, again, the one for one, and get everything you want romantically. It doesn't work that way, okay? It's almost, you can't establish relationships transactionally. So it's really important to understand that when you and I are engaging with each other, it's to build on something. It's not to do a little bit here, a little bit there. It doesn't work. That's why it's so important that you consider everything and learn how to not transactionally date anymore. Also, one of the reasons you shouldn't crowdsource advice is, and I'm not talking just in dating in life, but you shouldn't crowdsource all of your advice. You should have maybe, okay, and this is not dating I'm talking about. Let's talk about in other realms right now. You should have maybe a handful of people that you really respect where they've gotten to, and you know how they've gotten there, and you ask them about how you get there. But it's a very small number. You don't need to go to large groups of people to try to crowdsource things, because what it does is it adds an element of confusion to any decisions that you make, which leads to paralysis of action. And no piece of advice works unless you take action on it. So being an asshole, someone who continuously asks for advice but never actually does it, it's going to screw you over and over again. Plus, it exhausts the people around you. So let's talk about it in dating specifically. Like I said, I don't do transactional dating, which is the one for one. He does this, you do that. He does that, you do this. That shit doesn't work. It's very shallow, and it's never going to improve your love life. And my favorite is always hearing women say, that they have to do it that way. Well, no, if you don't look at the big picture and start building off of something and look at who you're becoming throughout the adored woman evolution, then you've screwed yourself. So look at everything. This is a very holistic approach to dating and love, and that's what the Mantourage is for, so that you have the opportunity to develop as an adored woman. And if you think you have no development to do, you shouldn't be here. Because one of the reasons, the biggest reason women have not found love, it isn't because just the man doesn't exist or she hasn't found him yet. It's because she's not ready for him yet. And that's critical in your understanding of becoming an adored woman. A lot of what, not only do I teach women to engage with men differently and to stop classifying and stereotyping men, I also teach them about who they need to become that honors themselves. And I'm not talking about changing yourself fundamentally. I'm talking about opening yourself up so that you can learn the different components of dating and love, which are receiving, which most of you, I'm going to be honest with you, because you're working your ass off in a very male-oriented environment, meaning it's just about productivity and very little else. Most of you really suck at receiving. And I know that's one that's hard to swallow, but I spend a good bit of time with women learning to actually lean back and receive and getting comfortable with that. A lot of you have issues with patience and understanding that anything good, it doesn't mean it has to take forever. But most of the time, you're building on something, and it's a process of who you're becoming as you're learning to receive, and as you become this woman, this adored woman, then you become ready to have all the things you want. And most of you aren't ready because you're really shut down to the idea of having to have patience whatsoever. And patience, it is important. And once you actually have the patience, you're going to be surprised as hell at how fast everything happens. Then another thing is that a lot of women are really bad about looking for what's going to go wrong instead of looking for what's going to go right. And they look at anything that happens that looks a little bit awry and they automatically classify it as, oh, this shit isn't working, when they couldn't be further from the truth. When it's actually the opposite that's happening. Because sometimes things that look awry are actually setups for really good stuff. But we won't recognize that because we get pissy about it. So another piece to consider. Now, finally, again, I mentioned, being an asshole, there's actually a good piece. The desire to want the advice is that's actually really, truly important. Because, there are people who have no desire to make anything better in their life, so they never ask. Which, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're a woman who wants something amazing and different in your life, especially in your love life, you have to be willing to ask, what is it that I'm doing? What is it that I'm doing that's contributing to me not having what I want in life? So you've got the first part of it. You've got the ask part down. Not ask. This is getting fun. But the most important part in being an adored woman, there's two pieces. There's adored woman mindset, and there is adored woman action. And if you're not going to add the action to the mindset, you've screwed yourself. And you deserve so much better than that. Okay, Lover Girl, it's time for the final thought on today's show. Adored women are never assholes. Thank you, Lover Girl, for joining us on this romantic fairy godmama edition of Single Smart Female. Don't forget to text this episode to all of your single smart girlfriends, as well as visit us at singlesmartfemale.com.
We'll talk to you next time.
And here's to you having everything you want in life and love. This episode was brought to you by the Secret Society of Adored Women.
Have you been tirelessly going on crap-tastic dates, having crap-tastic results with men, even spending a crap-tastic amount of time weeding through meh guys and fretting over the one who won't call you back or commit?
Join us for our Hush Hush group of like-minded, successful, badass single women from around the world, turning the dating scene on its head and creating scandalously magical romantic experiences that you will cherish forevermore.
But beware, your love life and life will never be the same again.
Meet us over at thesecretsocietyofAdoredWomen.com.